It's been 3 days since the release of Arcana, so I think it's time we talk a little bit about the tier list, where she is placed right now, and some of the changes that we have made to the whole thing and to the whole website. So, as usual, before we start, hello the internet, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict. Today's topic, Arcana. And actually, I've been liking her just because she's cheap to build with Isabel. Like, you don't really have to build 2 characters, you're building just one or half and half, and we'll talk about this later. But I've been liking them a lot. I'll be using them in raids, but I still think it's a skip if you don't care enough about Isabel or you don't care about raids at all. That said, like I was saying earlier, thank you to my bedrooms for making this content possible. Love you all bastards. And let's get started with the Arcana review and why she's actually pretty cheap to build if you decide to go that route. She does not need gear, overload gear, so you only need to invest on her skills. And then when it comes to Isabel, she doesn't need the skills, she only needs to invest on her overload gear. So it's like a 50-50. Of course, both of them will benefit more if you go all in, but it's not necessary. The only thing you will be getting if you decide to overload her is of course a higher combat power if you wanted to use it in campaign, which I highly doubt, and more attack, which means her buff is gonna be also getting an increase, but she already gets enough attack and attack damage buffs that you don't really need to worry about this. Her attack is already 155 plus 155 attack damage at level 7. You don't need to worry about this at all. Now, if you want to actually go and overload her, what stats are you looking for? Well, you're looking for maximum capacity, so she keeps shooting. You're looking for charge speed, and you're looking for elemental for the extra combat power. Those are like the 3 lines, but again, don't go too hard on rerolling her gear because it's not really worth it. That said, about her gear, let's talk about her skills, because she's actually not even that expensive to build. You only need to worry about skill 1 and skill 2. I took the burst to 7, it's a waste of resources. From level 4 to level 10, it's only like a 3% increase in total. You go from like 7% of attack damage and 7% damage taken all the way to level 10, where it's going to be a 10%. So you are increasing 6 skill levels, which is pretty expensive, just for a 3% increase on attack damage and a 3% increase on damage taken. Her own damage is trash, we don't even bother about that. Okay, so it's only for the damage taken and the attack damage, but level 4 is enough. 774, it's more than enough for her. You don't need to worry about her burst or take it any higher. When it comes to the cube, resilience takes priority because she is a slow girl. 2.5 seconds, that's gonna help a lot. You could be going with the charge speed, with the max ammo, with the quantum for more burst generation, but personally with the 2.5 second reload, I think you benefit more from actually running resilience. I would even say like quantum maybe could be like a good second option rather than bastion, but up to you and what you have leveled up. Now, that's it about how to build her. She's like a pretty simple character. She's like a basic bitch build character, like most support nowadays. Let's talk a little bit about team composition, okay? So here's the thing. The only team where she's gonna work is Isabel. This opens up other team compositions because this will work in a lot of situations. If you have your Arcana and you have your Isabel, this means you can free other DPSs from main teams, or you can start working on a Cinderella team, and then your second team could be an Isabel team on your shotguns, or maybe with another more meta support. The only thing that I will try to remember is to put your Arcana first, so you can burst first with Isabel, if you are someone who usually does auto, right? If you're gonna be doing auto, it's more comfortable just to have your Arcana and your Isabel first, so you don't break your rotations. But they fit into any team composition, because at the end of the day, Arcana doesn't require anything specific, and Isabel it's only working because of Arcana. So they are kind of plug and play, but it's not one character plug and play, it's 2, which is a lot harder, I would say, right? A lot of times when we say a plug and play character, like let's say Rapid Red Hood, you only have to worry about Rappi. Right, you have your normal team and then you have Rappi. Or let's say an off-burst character you can put into any team, like it would be Asuka. Right? You don't need to worry about where you're putting them, but now it's 2 characters instead of 1, which can be complicated for some people to slot into their solo raid teams. That said though, when it comes to how to build her, the team composition she could be allowed in, and of course, like I said at the beginning, I don't think you should be pulling if you don't care about the raids. As much as I've been enjoying them and I like them, it's still expensive to build even if you are doing 50-50 on each character, and of course if you are going to raids you will end up overloading both of them, not just Isabel, you will end up also overloading Arcana. Me personally, I am not a tryhard, I don't really care about like what rank I get, so she will stay no overload gear and 777. You should be going 774 only though. So let's talk about the tier list a little bit after that, and let's go over the pros and the cons that I have added in there as well. So a couple of things that have changed on the tier list. Are you guys able to see these properly? Yes. So the thing that we have changed is the tiers. Everything remains the same, but now we have made a little bit more of a distinction on between T1 and T2. T0, current meta, strongest characters, you can use them anywhere, they are great. Nothing there hard to understand, right? Then you have good units. Good units are characters you can use on a lot of content that they are really strong, right? But they are still not up to those characters at T0. But still, you can use these girls almost anywhere and they will be providing really good results for anyone. Now, this is where we have separated things. Earlier, T3 was filler and niche units, both together. The problem is that T2 is reaching a point where they are good units, but most of them are bossing units. You only use them if you are actually on bosses, aka our endgame, our raid systems, on the towers maybe. So it doesn't really make sense to have niche filler as a T3 and call these good girls, because they are great, but you have to understand that they are still niche characters. So we have separated T2 into niche usage and then T3 into filler units. The difference, like I was saying, for the most part, bossing characters, and then filler characters are characters you only will use if you have nothing else. Right? You have nothing else, you put these characters as a filler on your raid teams. That's it. But if you're a new player, of course. Both Arcana and Isabel are in T2. You are not gonna be using them on normal campaign for the most part because it's really expensive to justify that. And they will be characters that most people will be only making use of in solo raids when they are weak to Electro, right? So both Isabel and Arcana are there, and they both have this flag of course, paid with Isabel, elemental content for Arcana, and the painting flag for Isabel with Arcana. That said, when it comes to Arcana herself, as you can see, we went from like a 7-7-4. Her build, I already said it, but it's like a low priority to overload character. And let's go into the pros, cons, and the notes. When it comes to the pros, there is a couple things. She has the biggest attack and attack damage buffs in the game, but of course they only work with one character. Raids keep getting more team options, so this is good long term in the sense of we have a lot more team compositions you can make use of. There is a lot of options. It's no longer only a, oh, let me see what the top one is doing and everyone else is doing the same. You can have other teams right now that are working and getting good results, right? Which is always nice. And then, of course, pretty cheap to build since she doesn't need overload gear and she can be left at 7-7-4. Of course, I would still recommend to overload her if you really care about that second Electro team, but I personally will not do it. And then cons, she can only be paired with Isabel, making her really limited, and a lot of people will not have Isabel. It's a pilgrim that never got a banner. And then my personal worst is that instead of releasing treasures, ShiftUp keeps releasing characters like this, which is not a solution to the real problem we have in the game with bad characters, bad units. It doesn't fix anything. Like, you cannot just make a unit that will be tied to a Pinel and it's like, oh, call it a day, this is the buff. It's just easier to buff the characters. We don't need the treasures, we don't need these characters, we need you to buff all units that are really bad, right? I will say most people can agree on that. And then outside of bosses, there's no real usage for her and Isabel. Build them only if you care about raids. And then lastly, for the nodes, like I was saying earlier, her buffs are huge even at level 4. So you could be leaving her at like a 4-4-4 Arcana and you still will be getting an amazing damage on Isabel. But of course, you want to go higher for extra damage. Since you're only building them for raids, no reason to keep her 4-4-4. In the case of Isabel, you can keep her at 4-7-4 because only her skill 2 is worth taking any higher, but for Arcana, you want to be taking a skill 1 and a skill 2 up. And that said, I think that's everything. I don't think we changed anything else on the tier list. I'm pretty sure a couple characters went up or down. For example, Maxwell went down, Snow White, we put her here as well. Scarlet at this point, honestly, might be going down as well to this niche usage right now. But for most players, like overall usage for new players, she's still a good character. So we'll see what we do with her. I don't think anything else changed. I wouldn't recommend, guys, because the tier list keeps getting better and better, to actually go and be like verse 1, so you can see better what's going on, or verse 2 or verse 3, because it's a lot easier to actually see. In fact, I might even have like the separators directly, so it's easier for people to see what's going on. That said, that's gonna be it for this video, beautiful people. Do let me know if you agree with the tier list placement for both of these characters and how we are separating them and trying to make it easy to understand for the user. That said, that's gonna be it for this video. As usual, we are live every day. Feel free to drop by, link in the description. Love you all bastards. Good luck with your pool dinner. See you in the next one.